So I'm Kiki. I'm 26 years old and I live in the beautiful city of Dallas, Texas. I went to the Jackson State University where I graduated in 2017. And since then, I've been in communications, public relations, and marketing. I took a year off to teach and just kind of figure my life out and move and relocate and that kind of thing. Back in communications, I'm a guest host on Cheap Chat, which is the Army and Air Force Exchange Services social broadcast. So we interview lots of different celebrities. And so I was officially named the co-host last week. So I'm really excited about that venture. But that's not my first time being on a show. I had a podcast very briefly called Beauty Games. So it's super old, 2 years old. So I haven't done any episodes. And I do plan on revamping it and just changing the branding on that. But there's more to come in that regard.
Okay, I got you. Jackson State. Okay, the Jackson State. Okay, I guess that's where Deion Sanders is doing his thing right now. Head coach has his son in there as a QB, and his other son is also playing on the defensive side of the ball. But one of the reasons why I was excited to have you on the show was to talk about, because I know you wanted to talk about pop culture right now. And what are some of the things in pop culture right now that has you looking in that direction specifically?
So actually, last night we did a few like little bars. We did a bar hop, my friends and I, and one of the hottest topics we were talking about with strangers was Drake and this chick, this Instagram model girl, who is suing him because of the hot sauce and the condom incident. So we actually met a lawyer last night, and so I was like, I want to get your take on this. So this Instagram model, she has consensual sex with Drake in a hotel. He takes the condom, he puts hot sauce in it, and throws it in the trash. So I don't know if he like left the room or he was out for the night or whatever happened, but basically she found a way to get into the restroom, dig the condom out of the trash, and she starts to pour it inside of her lady part, and it's burning. And she's like, what's happening? And then he confessed and told her he had put hot sauce in the condom to kill the sperm. So I was like, does she have a case? And he said, absolutely not. And because it was self-inflicted, like she went into the trash, dug it out, like that was all on her. But that is pretty insane. And even on Google, if you just Google, does sperm kill? I mean, does hot sauce kill? Sperm will automatically pop up. It's super well searched right now because of something Drake did. So I think that's pretty iconic of Drake.
Right. That's what's up, though. Because it's funny you say that, because I mean they were just talking about that. I didn't even know the whole story about how that went down and how that happened. So I guess she was trying to look for looks like a money grab. I mean, I guess she was trying to, that's what it looks like. Um, yeah, I'm pretty sure that. So what is she trying to do? Like, is she trying to sue, or what's she trying to do?
Actually trying to sue him, for some money because, her little hot pocket got burned. But it was, it was her fault. She did it all herself.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, from me looking at it, I mean, I feel like that's her fault.
Yeah.
It seemed like she had an agenda, and she was trying to, trying to have a baby by him. That's what it looks like. We're trying to have a come up or whatnot. So, but
Let's take a
yeah.
quick pause because right here, can you guess who's in this photo?
Say what now?
Can you guess?
Wait a minute. I see a little finger moving. Hold on. Say that again.
Do you know who's in this picture, this poster?
No, I don't.
It's Drake.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I'm a Drake fan. I am.
Okay, because when I look over there, like it's a reflection like on the picture, but because so you can't really see like, you can't really see like his face on there. So okay,
I like swearing on it.
so you're a big Drake fan.
I am.
Okay. All right. So did you hear about since we're talking about, so-called rappers, I think there was an incident where I think I mentioned it to you. I think I did talking about where I think it's not Lil Baby, but it's like the Baby.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he had an incident where he was at a concert or something like that, and he mentioned something about that community, because I don't know how to what's the correct term, because I don't want to misconstrue how to address the LGBT community. I
Mhm.
guess that's just the proper way to just say that.
Oh, some other letters also. So the last I knew, it was the totality of it is LGBTQIA plus community, but it could have expanded since then, just to encompass everyone of
Right.
that spectrum. But a lot of times people just say LGBTQ, and the Q stands for queer. So.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I don't, because my thing is I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I want to make sure that I'm politically correct
No,
on the
for
whole
sure.
thing.
I think
But
LGBTQ is just the most widely used, but there's just a ton of different letters that stand for different things in the same spectrum.
okay,
I mean, I don't know. I think you can just stick with the LGBTQ, or you can just say, I don't want to say that community because it does kind of come across like, but
okay,
I feel like
yeah,
it's
yeah. I just want to make sure I understand what it is and what it, because I don't want to, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. Exactly, because I hear that there's a lot of power in that community, and it is what it is. But I guess there was an incident with the baby and his concert where he was saying something about raise your camera up if you don't have HIV. I don't know if you heard about it or whatnot. And then there was something about where I think Ti went on to try to just try to defend the baby a little bit on one of the shows or whatnot. But Ti was saying that basically there's a lot of bullying going on from the LGBT community in that perspective. But I was wondering if you can give me a little bit more insight. If you know more information about it, I was wondering if you can give me a little bit more insight if you know anything else specifically about that specific incident.
So I do remember the baby saying certain things at his show, and one of them was a misogynistic thing. But I think that when it comes to women, like in hip hop in general, that the support for women just isn't there in terms of like how we address women and what we say about them. Because I'm not sure if he said if you have clean putty or good putty or whatever it was, but regardless, it's like women shouldn't be defined by their lady part because
Right,
women
right,
are
right,
softer than that, and sometimes hip hop, the culture just doesn't always embody that theme. And then on the other side of the coin is homophobia and the
right.
things that he was saying about HIV, which are not accurate, of course. And so that was really offensive just to say something that was that outlandish. And I know Madonna actually was really offended in some different groups because she's a big supporter and advocate for HIV and AIDS awareness. And so it just came across really, really ignorant and hurtful, to say something like that. Like there was no need to say it. It wasn't brought up. You know what I mean? Like he brought it up. Like for what? I just thought it was in poor taste, especially when you are a big brand. And he was actually doing really well for himself until that happened and people started like, distancing themselves from him because, it's not okay. It's not cool to
Right.
say. But I didn't know that Ti was supporting him. I knew Boosie was, but who doesn't Boosie support? That's problematic. But yeah, I don't know. I think sometimes black men get caught up in supporting each other because of all of the other instances of just racial injustice or black men not having security within themselves because of things that are happening in society. But then there's still that layer of accountability that has to happen, regardless of I'm going to protect, my brother because people hate us.
That
Like
makes
when your brother does wrong, you should still speak up. You should say that because it's going to be more well received from someone they respect and that you consider to be, your brother. But I don't think black men hold their counterparts accountable as much as they should. And then this is a prime example with Ti not correcting the baby, but like being like, oh, y'all are just doing too much or whatever. Like that's not okay
yeah.
either.
There are people, even though I don't understand, I caught myself, matter of fact, this weekend just saying, I don't understand why they act a certain way, why they act like women. That part of it, I don't really understand. I will say that. That's just from me being who I am. I don't really understand why they finesse like that. But I mean, that I guess that's just a part of them, being them.
Yeah,
Um,
how
so
they their
yeah,
how they identify.
yeah.
I
So
mean, everybody has, self identity when you just go back to the base of it. Just you and I, how we, project ourselves to the world. I'm more of a feminine, soft kind of chick. And then I have a homegirl, who is super aggressive and masculine. So I think it's just, even when it's not a sexuality thing, it's still a person thing, like how we choose to project and what we like, what we enjoy, what's our personality, how do we want to be received in the world. Like you can
Exactly.
just break it down even to the base of it.
Exactly.
Mm,
Exactly. Okay. So I want to skip a beat, and I also want to move over to. I know that you are 26,
mhm.
26 years old, and like you said, you are super single,
Yes.
and so we're gonna turn it a little bit. We're gonna dive into relationships, and things like that nature. So, but first, let me ask you, like, what's your experience been like, after you graduated from Jackson State, and what's your experience been like just out there on the dating scene?
So when I first graduated, I dated older men, so like men in their early 40s. And so I'm like 22, 23 years old, so super young. Probably shouldn't have been dating that much older. Like I wouldn't date that much older now, even, but hindsight. But in those experiences, I just learned what my daddy issues were. Like I grew up with my father in the household, and my parents, they've been married since they were like 21 years old. But something that we don't think about is that even when we do have a father in the household, it doesn't mean that they're meeting the needs that we have. Like, even as any parent, you don't always know your kids' needs. You're not always in tune with how your child loves or how your child needs to receive love, because parents, they got to work, they got to pay bills, they have a lot of other responsibilities, sometimes other children. So you're not always thinking like, what is my daughter gonna like today? This kid, whatever. And so I didn't always have my needs met with my dad in terms of like how I needed to be loved and how I needed him to show me what love looked like. So I started dating older men, because usually women who date older have daddy issues. You just don't know that is living, because you have a dad sometimes, so you don't think like, oh, I got daddy problems when you have a father. So in those instances, the guys tended to be a father figure, and I didn't need that. But the experience, nonetheless, was still a learning experience and a growing one. And I will just say, like, men over 35, especially, are easier to have conversations with and not feel like anybody's having their time wasted. It's just good combo and getting to know a person. But once I left the older people alone and started dating guys in their 20s, that's when like literally all hell broke loose. Men in their 20s are just really, really challenging creatures to date. Nothing against them. They're still learning life and figuring things out too, but
Yeah.
it's just more difficult when you're dating somebody who doesn't know who they are, doesn't like who he is or what he's becoming, isn't happy with his money or his lifestyle or whatever. It's like he doesn't want to sell.
It's funny because I was talking to somebody, and I was insisting. We were just out and about. I won't say who it is. We were just out and about. And I was like making a suggestion because I saw some young ladies over there, and they were his age, and he just felt like his comment was, "Oh, they probably want money." But to me, on the men's side of the bar, I think that we have to stop thinking that we know how women think, and how just because they like to dress nice, just because they like to look nice a certain way, that we shouldn't give them enough respect to have to even walk up to them, to even introduce ourselves. I think it's a fine line between being scared. That's just it. Being scared to approach a woman. That's just it. Because that's me in a nutshell. I mean, just a man walking up to a woman. I guarantee you, you know, it's it's kind of scary in a sense, because we don't want to be let down. Like, we're scared. We're like, oh man, what if she disses me? What my homeboys gonna think? They gonna this and that. But I think that women are a little bit more evolved early in age than men. But we have a long way to go. We're kind of cavemen in our art, with what we do. And I can't speak for all men, because I know there are some guys out there that they really know what they want early in age or whatnot. So
That's true.
yeah. So, but Okay, I got one talking about 10 things that'll destroy a relationship, but I want to stay on the positive side. I don't even want to get into it. I mean, I
No,
don't-
yeah.
yeah,
That's on the stuff we should be doing.
yeah, I want to stay on the positive side of things because I mean, I've got some cousins, I've got some family members that are still single, and
Mhm.
um, I just really want to uplift them and say that there are men out there, and just for the same, there's a lot of guys too that I know that also are in the same situation.
Yeah, for
So,
sure. Yeah, I
but
just try to stay hopeful, even though this is Dallas and, has a reputation for not being the greatest place to date. But, there's a person for everybody, is what I think. And no matter where you are, like, you're going to find what's meant, like, to find you and you find it. So I just try to stay hopeful about that. But yeah, dating sex, like, and I hate to say it like that because it's, manifesting, but no, like, it's a challenging process for sure when you're in your 20s. It's something else.
so let me ask you this though. So, what do women want?
What do I want or what do women want?
Well, okay, well, let's go with you since you are
Yeah, because I can only speak for,
online.
for me.
You're right. You're right. I get you can't speak for other women. Okay. Okay. You're right.
Women who are scammers or who just want guys, for their things, and deep down they want a relationship, but they just have so many psychological issues and they don't trust people, and so they kind of project like I just want him for his thing. So there are chicks who, don't want love. They just want what is tangible, what makes sense from a guy. But I think for me, I just want a partner. Like for the longest, I was single when I was in undergrad, so I went to HBCU. So it wasn't hard for me to meet men. I was talking to 7 guys at a time, in rotation. Every 3 months we switch out, and it wasn't on purpose. It was just I was at school. You're accessible to people, and I was young, so I wasn't as like guarded. So certain, guys could come up to me. I was open, and it works out when a guy feels like he can talk to you. That takes the nerve off, and so he's like, oh, she's a cool girl. Word gets around, you're a cool girl. You're easy to deal with, whatever. And more guys want to talk to you, and you just project that good energy. So I just talked to a ton of guys, like going on dates, doing stuff I shouldn't have been doing and whatever. But then once I graduated, it was like super, like I wasn't in a mode of like, oh, I want to be a wife. I mean, I wasn't thinking about those things because like men were an abundant thing for me, if that makes sense. Like I always had a guy to talk to. I wasn't worried about a date. Oh, a guy will come along with my mindset. And but like the older I got, the less that became reality. And then the pandemic happened, and you weren't meeting people on lockdown, and then even like immediately after, which I didn't live in Texas or in Dallas at that time, so it's a little bit different. I know Dallas was like open, but like with lockdown and stuff, you weren't meeting people. So then it's like, dang, I am alone. I don't want to be alone. And I had gone through so many different things early in my career, whether a lot of negative things that I overcame and grew stronger because of. But it's like you look at younger couples who get married young, and it's like, oh, we paid our debt off, and I'm looking like, oh, I got credit card bills, I got to pay by myself because I don't have a husband to help me. It's just a lot of stuff that I've had to do by myself. And so for me, that partnership is a really big component as to why I want to date somebody seriously.
Mhm.
Because if I didn't want a partner, I would just be okay with, a guy here, a guy there. But I want somebody who's solid, I can trust, and they can sit, in my routine pretty well because I'm too busy and dealing with stuff to be with anybody. You know what I mean?
Right.
Okay. That's where my challenge comes in at. But I would love a partner, like a true partner to help me in life. I can trust this person. We're both growing and evolving. Maybe not at the same time, right? Because we're different people, but we're doing it together. Like I think that's a really cool, thing to have in your life. So hopefully that'll be my season soon at some point. I don't want to be married before I'm 30, but I would like to meet the person, before that.
I understand. So, would you be willing to meet someone who is maybe ascending? Maybe you don't know it, but like what type of guy, like do women look at guys and do they look at their clothes? Like do you judge men by their clothes when you first see them? Let me just ask you that question.
Judging by their clothes. So I don't like judge based on like the brands or anything else because in my dating experience, I dated a lot of tall guys who were like athletes. And they already are wearing sweats all the time. They're 6'5", 6'6", whatever, so they can only wear so many things. So that I don't think about, like your style, I don't think about. So like if you're like, if your drawers showing, you got on a torn up tank top, like I'm not gonna talk to you. You know what I mean? But if you're a regular person, you dress with some sense, that's fine. I don't judge style if that makes sense. Because I mean, styles change too. You know?
That's true. All right. So would you date a guy who works at Amazon? He's working at Amazon. He's making like $13 an hour. I mean, you're 26. You're
Yeah.
doing good for yourself. But would you? And if you saw potential in him, I mean, you think he could grow. I mean, would you date, a guy like that? I'm just asking for the guys who, you know.
You say that because I did date a guy like that over the summer. He worked at Whole Foods and he worked at UPS. And he did both of those. Like he had gone to school, he has a trade, whatever. But with the pandemic, he was furloughed from his full time. So he just had to get it how he lived. Like most of us, like you had to find a way to pay your bills, and so that's what he did. And I didn't judge him for that. I mean, we're really young, and then money comes and money goes. So sometimes you just have to do whatever you have to do to make ends meet for the time, and then your next opportunity will come up, and your career will be back where you want it. But I don't think about those things in that way because I've been through stuff myself, if that makes sense, like with work and like having bad bosses, being in a really bad work environment, having to start all over. Like I've done those things, and I just don't judge other people for life happening to them. But yeah, I try to be open to blue collar for sure. Because I'm just gonna say, men who are like engineers or bankers, and I'm not trying to say this as all of them, but when men get some type of clout about themselves, that's a whole nother type of person to try to date. And I think a guy who's just a hard worker in the blue collar area is going to be easier to date. The respect is going to be there, hopefully. And they're not going to be asked, oh, I
Now,
make
wait a
this.
minute, wait a minute. Let me hold on. Let me ask you something. Hold on. When we talking about the blue collar area, like what are you talking about there? Are you talking about, are they conceited, or what are you trying to say? What is that? Like, what do you mean by that?
What is blue collar?
Yeah, no. I know what blue collar is, but what are you saying about the type of man in that environment?
I think a blue collar man is probably what people should aspire to date more so than a guy who makes six figures in a suit and has like a fancy ass title because I hope I can swear. Because sometimes they can be a little bougie and difficult to nail down. Maybe they feel like they're so successful and they feel entitled. And then that's when you get into like the guy who sits in the dark on his podcast telling men, oh, you don't need to date a woman that's 200 pounds because you're high value. Like just because you have a good job doesn't make you high value, sir. Like it's a lot of different things that, encompass that. But, that's just a whole nother area, group of people that I
Okay,
don't.
okay. I was just trying to clean that up for some guys may not.
I like blue collar guys, and I'm not going to down them because they're hard workers, and that's what you should want as a woman is someone who works and puts in the time and dedication and gets their stuff together, and they're not afraid to get their hands dirty, and they're not afraid of someone saying, "Oh, but you're a plumber" or something, whack. Like they are true to themselves and their craft, and I think that's the kind of guy somebody should want to date.
Hmm.
You know?
Absolutely. Yep, I can dig that. So, what's the next step in evolution for you, Kiki? What's going on next? What's the next thing that you have on your plate?
Well, right now I'm just trying to figure my way with my personal brand. Because everyone wants me to hop back on the podcast and see what that's like. But it's like it just took a lot of my time before, and I just wanted to make sure that the projects I had going on were all making some kind of sense. Sometimes I can just do too much. And I'm still trying to get my real estate stuff together, so that's another avenue and another brand, I guess you could say, that I am trying to build. But yeah, I'm just out here trying to build new brands, meet people. I go out all the time. I know Mariana's out, but I still like to go outside and I'm boosted, so I'm protected. I got my mask as much as you can be. But yeah, that's what I have going on. Just building brands and expanding my reach.
That's what's up, man. Where can people reach you when they look you up? Like you have a web page, or where can
I
people
do
find
have a
you?
website, and it's kianaholleman.com. And so I have different blog posts on there, just information about my communications and public relations background. But for the podcast, it's pretty low pod. So I don't have any new episodes. You're just going to hear the previous podcast, which is Beauty Games. You'll hear all those. But we're getting that back in the works and trying to get that up and running again too.
Okay. I think you need to change that picture up there. You need to put a Tupac in that Drake spot right up there.
I mean, he had his moment and we love him, but